Hi everyone, Lena Morgan, LPT Realty. Today I'm here with Billy Sharp with BOBS AC, roofing, gutters, electrical. He's a man that does it all. And today our video, we're going to talk about HVACs in Florida. How much they cost to replace, what size you need, what kind of maintenance you need to do. So let's get started.
Alrighty.
All right, Billy. So how long does an AC typically last in the state of Florida?
In a perfect world, with perfect filtration, everything's sized right, depending on your household, you can get 20, 25 years out of these. That used to be kind of the status quo. For the refrigerant changes and engineering, everything's changing, very fast-paced changing trade. Perfect filtration, no pets in the house. You can get 20, 25 years out of them if you maintain them. And again, most important thing is always going to be changing that filter.
Okay, perfect. Especially when you have animals with
Yes.
dogs, cats, replacing that filter every so often. How often should they be replacing that filter?
Really monthly. We tell our customers when you pay the power bill, go change the filter. It seems redundant, but it's the most important thing on these units. Air conditioners are unfinished goods, meaning the final manufacturing is done on the house. So it's going to be contingent upon how well it was installed. First thing we look at is the quality of the componentry. There's 80 different manufacturers. Most of them have there's about 8 or 9 different componentry. They're all basically very similar. Depending on the brand that you like, the warranties are very similar. It's always going to come down to that installation on site, um, and how well they're maintained. Definitely change that filter every month.
Great. Okay. So when you go to replace an HVAC, a homeowner calls you and they say, "Hey, I need a new HVAC." What size, what type of AC are you going to be looking to install in that home? Does the size of the home matter? Things like that.
Absolutely. I mean, the general rule of thumb, a lot of people just want to go off square footage, or cubic feet. If you have higher ceilings, ultimately you want to get energy calcs done. The houses will have those done. When were those energy calcs done? What heat load were they using? Again, as the refrigerants changing, the specification, building code, a lot of things changing depending on the size of that house. You just want to put all those things and get with a licensed professional, but ultimately, those energy calcs are going to tell you based on the square footage, the heat load. For example, if you have big windows facing to the south, it's going to create a lot more heat, no shade. So, general rule, a lot of guys just want to get away with square footage. It's kind of winging it per se. You want to get energy calcs by an engineer, get the right testing done with experts. There's a lot of guys running around in their truck, working out of their house, no license, no insurance, call themselves experts. Do your due diligence, but ultimately, energy calcs with engineers, take everything into consideration so you size that unit. We don't want to go too big. A lot of people in Florida with these refrigerant changes are just upsizing these units. You can get yourself in trouble there when it comes to humidity and comfort. So definitely do your due diligence.
Okay. So if you are putting an AC in that is maybe too big or too small for the home, what kind of issues can you run into with that?
A great question. I've been in this conversation with the leaders nationally in this industry. It's probably the most intricate conversation you can have when it comes to HVAC. When you look at Florida, we're kind of the biggest test with the high heat, high humidity, ever-changing climate here in Florida. You definitely don't want to go too big.
Okay.
You get into humidity, which can lead to indoor air quality issues, allergens. We don't like to use the crazy M word, mold. However, you want to get it right on the sizing. And then if you go too small, now you're going to be upset. And this time of year, right now we're in August, it's very high heat and humidity. You're going to try to maintain 72, 74, whatever you're trying to maintain in the afternoons, and you're going to see temperatures creeping. So you don't want to undersize it. We mostly see oversizing due to the refrigerant changes. A lot of people try to get creative and kind of make their own rules, and they're not checking humidity, they're not checking indoor air quality. So really important to get it sized right, and use an expert, again, licensed, insured professionals that are doing this the right way. This is not something, when it comes down to hot rooms, high power bill, allergy issues. These are very important things in your household, and you want to get it right.
Okay, awesome. So we have in our market in the villages, we have a lot of snowbirds or people who are seasonal. If they're going out of town or if they're going away back home up north during the summertime, where should they be putting their temperature at, or should they be maintaining it at a certain temperature, or how should they be monitoring that?
It's a great question. We always recommend, especially with the village customers, have somebody go check that house monthly. Even if it's not being occupied, really 78, 79 degrees, maintaining that temperature just to keep, the comfort, the humidity, not damage anything in the house. You still change that filter. There's still a lot of, dirt and allergens and things going through the air. Uh, Try to get somebody over there once a month, check that filter, keep it at 78. And then we actually just ran into this issue. They were gone and nobody was monitoring. The unit actually quit.
Mm.
So, you're talking 100, 110 degrees in that house for days on end. You imagine what that can do to
Hmm.
valuables and overall just the comfort of the home. So 78, 79, if you're going to leave it, click that thing up to there and then keep an eye on it. If you get into the higher technology air conditioning, you can monitor that from your smartphone.
I was just gonna say nowadays a lot of things are from your
Mhm.
smartphone. You can monitor it from wherever you are. Should they be monitoring the humidity as well and all that?
Absolutely. Technology is advancing today. Some good, some bad, but it will allow you to have that property managed. If you have an older unit, and again, if you're a seasonal customer, we get a lot of this. You have a baseline unit, the original to the home. You're only using that home 4 to 6 months out of the year, so it could be a 12-year-old unit with only 6 years of runtime. One Florida summer, extremely hard on a unit. So if you're seasonal, yeah, you're going to get some extended time out of that unit, but you still gotta keep an eye on it and maintain it. But as you do go looking replacement, the technology is advancing, the ability to monitor it. Really excited about where the industry's headed to monitor the comfort of the home from remote locations.
Okay. Awesome. Now, some of these homes, when I go in, we'll see the air handler either in the garage or even in the attic. Will that affect the life expectancy of a unit if a air handler is in like the attic for say versus in a closet inside a home?
Essentially, no. It all comes down to proper installation. These things are designed to go. It could be horizontal in the attic, as long as the drain pan and everything's done to spec, building spec, manufacturer specifications. Again, like as I said earlier, they're unfinished goods. You're relying upon the final construction and installation on site. It is so critical. It is way more important than just the brand or the level of componentry. So no, attic, closet, garage. Certainly, if that attic it's going to be insulated right. Obviously, the heat load's going to be factored. Is the roof intact? A lot of different factors. But if you have a licensed, skilled professional that's trained not only from the manufacturers but up to current building codes, you can really get a good lifespan out of these in either location.
Okay, so those units can withstand the Florida heat in an attic and
Absolutely.
okay.
Yep. You're going to see at the end of the day, if it was installed by a professional and it was maintained, um, yeah, you can certainly get your money's worth and extend the life of these units.
Awesome. Okay. And when a homeowner is looking at a home to purchase and they're looking at the AC, what are some things that they should be looking at that is going to tell them whether they're going to need to potentially replace it in the near future or that, it may last them a few more years? Is there anything that they can, just see by looking at it?
Absolutely, it's a great question. Something we deal with every day with our realtor partners and our buyers with the influx of people moving to Florida. We see a lot of shoddy contracting, a lot of builder grade componentry that was never installed right, wasn't sized right. So you want to look at all of these things. ACs are a little bit different than a roof, as they have a plate, a nameplate with the manufacturer and the installation date. Roofing, you got to be relying upon a permit being pulled and checking that. So certainly check the level of componentry. Obviously, like I said, there's a ton of different brands. They're all made up of about 8 or 9 of the same stuff. So it's all very similar. You want to look at that. You want to look at the quality of the install. That is by far the most important thing. Then we want to look at where was it maintained.
Hmm.
Very simple things. Some homeowners, if you're more savvy, you can pull the door, take a look at the coil, see if it's rusted. Take a look at the copper line set. Take a look at that platform top. If you're looking at the platform and you're seeing it sagging with some mildew built up,
Which we do
you
see a lot in
yeah,
Florida.
you'll be able to tell quickly, hey, this thing, is fighting for its life here. Then we want to, talk to the previous owner. Same thing you do with the vehicle. Like, what's that vehicle history report? Were you changing your air filter? If you see a lot of corrosion on the blower wheel, a lot of rust built up, um, age, of course, that's kind of the quick way of looking at it. Everybody just wants to see how old. I don't care if it's 6 years old. I've seen 20-year-old air conditioners that were expertly installed and expertly maintained that look immaculate. So if it wasn't installed right and it wasn't maintained, I really don't care how old it is. We go to 2, 3-year-old units that weren't installed right, no license, no insurance, and certainly they weren't even no hope at a maintenance plan or regular filtration change. So you can think of the stress that's going to put on a unit with a dirty filter in there. We see 9, 10. I mean, one Florida summer alone with clean filter is brutal on these units. Imagine that filter being dirty and the added stress it does to those units.
Hmm. You touched a little bit about the maintenance on these units. What kind of maintenance do homeowners need to do to make sure that these units last as long as they can?
Yeah, uh, man, getting into the HVAC trade, I got in based on energy dependence. These things use 60 to 70% of your power usage. So that was my motivation when I got into the trade. And then I realized the maintenance side. I was guilty of it before I became an expert in this trade. A proper filter change every month, the right size filter, that's going to be critical to the lifespan of the system. Um, Now we get into biannual maintenance. We want to take a look at these things before, that May, that switch goes on in Florida. It gets really hot, gets really humid. Um, we like before and then we like after. One Florida summer with clean filter use, with regular filter change is brutal on these units. They run nonstop. They're working hard to maintain that 74-degree temperature, if that's what you like. You think of a day like today, it's probably 115 degrees outside with heat index, and you're asking that unit to maintain 72, 74. So after a summer, we want to see what type of wear and tear. Why is maintenance so critical? We have rodents. We just had a major event yesterday. They had a big event going on in the house. Snake, withered its way up there and fried the control board.
Mm.
A lot of things can happen. These routine maintenance and checkups can check on these things. It's just very critical. It's an inexpensive way to prolong the lifespan of the system.
Should a homeowner be cleaning out their lines? And if so, like what kind of fluid are they? I've heard people putting bleach down there. I've heard people putting Dawn soap. I've heard people putting um, vinegar. What kind of maintenance with the lines should they be
Yeah,
doing?
yeah. Our technicians just warm water,
Okay.
regularly warm water. Now, if it's way beyond what warm water is going to do, you go outside. If you don't see water coming out on a day like today where the humidity is very high, you got an issue. If you hadn't changed the filter over time, that's going to build up that corrosion, and warm water is not going to do the trick. So it depends on the level of how that drain has been under maintained. Then you want to bring an expert out there, get some drain solvent. But again, these are chemicals that you want a licensed professional to use, because if that drain is that mismanaged, it could lead to a lot of other issues, which again are going to take you out of peace of mind, and you're going to be calling us. It always happens at the worst time, and we're here. Company like ours, that's how we built our company, to always be there. But that may not be the case for whichever company you're using, depending on who you choose to service your air conditioner or maintain.
And if Bob's were the people to replace the AC, how often should the homeowner be calling you to come out to do that maintenance to make sure that the AC is running
Yeah,
properly?
commercial properties we like quarterly. Your churches, your daycares, medical buildings where you have a lot of people coming in and out,
Hmm.
we like quarterly.
Okay.
Residential properties twice a year. Come out there between January and April, get on the schedule, take a look at what's going on, and then after the summer, we get into that first fall kind of cool air. It cools down. We know that thing. And again, this goes into how many hours. I mean, how hard. If you're at a house full of 4 dogs and 3 kids, like my house, you're not changing that filter regularly, these things are going to be much more important. I can't stress that. But again, even if it's, single family, just, not many people in the house, not many people coming and going, no pets. You think of the stress this Florida heat and humidity puts on a unit. You want to make sure you're getting it looked at. It's all going to be contingent upon that.
Okay, sounds good. Now let's talk about replacement costs. Someone calls you and the AC it needs to be replaced. What kind of costs are they going to be looking at in today's market?
Well, that's a great question. And again, as technology's advanced, there's a lot of options on the table when it comes to energy efficiency, when it comes down to power savings, humidity, comfort. Depending on your comfort level, what you're looking for, just like everything in the world, costs have gone up. We get upset customers that haven't replaced in 20 years. They don't realize, how much inflation and cost of goods. Post-COVID, this industry has seen massive price increases on the equipment. So, your low end, depending on sizing, get your baseline 14 SEER single stage equipment, still can get very aggressive. And if we're just going to talk basic 3-ton, in the garage, we'll just start there depending on the size, anywhere from 7,000 up to 20,000. If you want to, new ducts, if those ducts are 20 years old and they haven't been maintained, you could be breathing in dirty air. We like to help you with energy efficiency, clean air. There's a big range there. You can get up into the high efficiency inverters, which are very quiet. A lot of people like me, my condensers are out by the garage where I like to spend my weekend time. We went with super quiet. You get a little bit more pricey when you get into the higher SEER, high efficiency. Of course, you're going to see great power savings. You're going to see added humidity control, added monitoring of the unit, as we discussed earlier. So there's so many options. We give our customers 5 to 7 options, depending on what your needs and budget are. So I just try to tell people, it's 2026, and as much as we wish it was the old days, I can't leave the little restaurant here by the office. I can't leave the mason jar for $28 for lunch. It used to be $12. It's a crazy, fast-paced world, but that budget will range again depending on the efficiency rating and the quality of componentry that you want to go with.
Okay.
And then the other added, if you want warranties, there's extended labor warranties, refrigerant warranties, maintenance plans. There's so many different things that can factor into that price. Just do your research. I'm not a big fan of the whole 3-bid. Anybody can give you 3 bids. Do the research on the company. There's a lot of pretenders out there. There's a lot of guys operating out of their house. All their helpers are uninsured. And you got companies that are huge corporate-owned companies that are just basically putting trained salesmen in trucks, posing as technicians. Do your research on what type of company you want to do business with. License, insurance, very skilled trade. When it comes down to the refrigerant, the electrical, componentry, you want licensed experts. You don't want amateurs that these guys are getting their helpers on Facebook Marketplace the night before just because you win. I always, shy away from those cheap bids. Truth be told, the number one phone call we get at Bob's Air Conditioning is unlicensed, uninsured contractors that aren't taking phone calls anymore, and they want us to come out and fix it within the first 3 or 4 years. That is the number one call we get, and people will tell us, they were tight on money and thought they were saving themselves some money by going with the guy that had, didn't even have an office building. If you call him on a Saturday, it's him answering his phone while he's, at the hunting camp or something. So do your research and pick the company you want to do business with.
Awesome. Well, Billy, I appreciate all the information. Thank you so much. If anyone needs AC work or AC replacements, you guys know who to call. I'll leave his information down below, and appreciate your time.
Awesome. Thank you for coming by.
Yeah, thank you. Bye.